Have you ever felt like someone or something was watching you? Not just a shadow, not just a noise, but eyes, right there on you when you're alone? Tonight, you're about to hear 3 true terrifying stories from people who lived it. Stories where the fear isn't what's outside. It's what's staring at you from the darkness. Stay with me, because once you hear these tales, you'll never feel alone again. When I first moved into my apartment, I thought I had finally found independence. It was small, damp, and old, but it was mine. The only window looked out over a pitch-black alley, the kind of place where light never reached. The first night, nothing happened. I convinced myself the creaks and groans of the building were normal. But on the 3rd night, at exactly 2 a.m., I heard it. A faint tap at the glass. I turned, and for less than a second, I saw a pale face pressed against the window. Wide eyes, no expression, just staring. I ran to the glass, but there was nothing. Only fog, like breath had been left behind. I told myself it was stress, maybe a dream, but deep down, I knew better. From then on, every night at 3 a.m., I heard scratching at the window. Sometimes slow and hesitant, sometimes desperate, like nails dragging across the glass. I stopped sleeping. I sat awake, waiting. One night, I finally heard a whisper through the crack in the glass. "Let me in." That's when I noticed the small fracture spreading across the corner of the pane. My landlord admitted someone had once died in this unit, jumped straight from that same window, claiming something in the alley was watching him. The very next night, the crack split wider, and through it slid long, bone-white fingers, curling inside, searching for the lock. I froze. Seconds felt like hours. My breath fogged the air as the fingers probed, tapping the inside latch. And then they stopped, pulled back. The silence that followed was worse than the scratching. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I grabbed my bag and ran. I never returned. But every time I pass that street, I look up. The window is still cracked, and behind it, a silhouette waits, motionless, watching. Last summer, I rented a remote cabin to escape the noise of the city. The nearest neighbor was over a mile away, and the silence felt like heaven at first. By the second night, I noticed how loud silence can be. Every snap of a twig outside sounded like footsteps. And then, it was. Real footsteps. Circling the house. Slow. Careful. Heavy. I told myself it was a deer, maybe a coyote. But when I checked in the morning, I found muddy footprints pressed against every window of the cabin. Human footprints. Some small. Some large. All barefoot. Each night, the footsteps came back. Always circling. Always stopping right outside my bedroom window. Sometimes they paused long enough that I could hear faint breathing on the glass. I stayed frozen under the sheets, too afraid to move. On the 5th night, I couldn't take it anymore. I turned off all the lights, crouched in the dark living room, and waited. At exactly 2:47 a.m., the sound returned. Heavy boots, crunching leaves, circling. Then silence. When I finally looked up, I realized the mistake I had made. I had sat directly across from the glass patio door, and through it, I saw a face. Not pressed against the glass like a normal person. No, the face was upside down, hanging, smiling at me with wide, lifeless eyes. The smile widened as if it knew I was frozen, as if it fed off my fear. I screamed, turned on every light, and called the police. By the time they arrived, no one was there. They told me it was probably kids playing a prank. But outside, in the dirt under the patio, I saw it. Handprints, pressed deep into the soil above the door frame. Handprints facing downward. Tell me, what kind of kid can hang upside down, 3 stories high, in the middle of the woods? I was driving across the state when exhaustion forced me to pull into a roadside motel. It was almost midnight when I checked into room 6, a faded room with flickering lights and the stench of cigarette smoke soaked deep into the carpet. I should have left the moment I noticed the mirror. It was bolted to the wall above the desk, but something about it felt wrong, like it didn't belong. At 3 a.m., I woke to the distinct feeling of being watched. My eyes darted to the corner. The closet door was slightly ajar. My heart pounded as I whispered to myself that I had shut it before bed. Gathering my courage, I swung it open. Empty, just shadows and dust. But then I noticed the mirror again, and something clicked. I pressed my ear against the wall behind the mirror. I swear I heard breathing. Shallow, slow, patient. Shaking, I slid the desk aside and shined my phone's flashlight along the edges of the mirror. And that's when I saw it. A small, jagged hole drilled straight through the wall. There was someone on the other side, watching, all night long. I didn't even pack. I grabbed my keys and ran, leaving everything behind. Later, I read online about that motel. Room 6 had been the subject of several complaints. Guests reported the same thing. Holes drilled through the walls, always hidden behind the mirrors. Some claimed they saw movement. Some swore they heard whispers. And a few of them say they saw eyes that didn't blink, eyes that waited for you to notice them before slowly vanishing back into the dark. Remember, every story you just heard really happened. Emily, David, and Samantha shared their disturbing encounters with the unknown. For more true, terrifying stories, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.